Already people are beginning to forget about communism. They're beginning to forget about the victims of communism, which now number, we know, about 100 million. I mean, there was no freedom. There was no freedom of speech, no freedom of religion, no freedom of thought. People couldn't write a poem or a play or a story or conduct a scientific experiment without some censor first approving it. All of that story has to be told.
Back in 2014, I got a phone call from a physician at the Mayo Clinic who reached out and said, I need to tell a journalist what just happened. He told me that his elderly mother, who lives with him and his wife, had been raised in Czechoslovakia. When communism came to power there after the Second World War, the government told her to quit going to church. She said, I'm not going to quit going to church. They threw her in prison for 4 years and tortured her as a so-called Vatican spy. She immigrated to America, started her life here. Now she was telling her son, the things I see happening in America today remind me of what was happening in my own country when communism came. Well, what was the old lady seeing? She's seeing the effects of cancel culture. She was seeing people facing the loss of job and the loss of their livelihood for getting on the wrong side of the politically correct. People being afraid to speak their minds for fear of losing their job or being hounded out of polite society. So over the next few years, if I would meet someone who had grown up under Soviet communism but came to America, I would put the question to them. Are the things you're seeing happen in our country today in any way reminiscent of what you left behind? Every single one of them said yes.
In a new book, my next guest suggests that we may be heading down a dangerous path toward totalitarianism. Live Not by Lies.
A remarkable new book entitled Live Not by Lies.
Live Not by Lies.
Live Not by Lies.
Live Not by Lies.
Live Not by Lies. Inspired not least by the great Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
I got the title for the book from an essay by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. The Soviets exiled him from the country. They kicked him out in 1974. Just before he was kicked out, he sent a short essay to all of his followers. The name of the essay was Live Not by Lies, because the whole communist system was built on lies. Lies about human nature, lies about the way the world is, and it can only be sustained when people are afraid to live in truth.
Everybody in the Soviet system lied about everything to everyone all the time. And so the whole system was set up and maintained because everyone lied.
There are so many people among the intelligentsia especially who are absolutely immune to facts. It's as if they took their anti-fact shots every year, and the facts will just not affect them.
Totalitarian governments try to take away cultural memory, which is to say the memory of a people that tells them who they are. We've seen this happen in our own country with statues taken down, where history suddenly becomes extremely contentious.
One of the things that disturbs me tremendously is about this enthusiasm for socialism at a time when people are literally starving in Venezuela, an oil-rich country.
Yesterday, I asked ChatGPT, are there any similarities between today's woke revolution and Chairman Mao's Cultural Revolution of the 1960s? And it wrote back, how long do you have?
People don't take it seriously because they think of totalitarianism, and what comes to mind is George Orwell. What comes to mind is Stalin, secret police, gulags, firing squads, things like that. That's not what we're dealing with yet, at least. In China, they have what's called a social credit system, under which the Chinese government controls every Chinese citizen. It has the computer power to track everybody's movements all throughout the day. If you meet with people the government considers to be antisocial, that is to say Christians or dissidents, that is noted by the system and you get automatically a lower social credit rating. Eventually, if you get a low enough social credit rating, you can't buy or sell or participate in the economy. Now that should send chills down the spine of every Christian who knows his or her Bible. Alexander Solzhenitsyn said that the line between good and evil does not pass between social classes or between, races or anything else. The line between good and evil passes right down the middle of every human heart. I remember standing on a street corner in Moscow talking to a white-haired, elderly Russian Baptist pastor, a man whose father and the fathers of all the men in his community when they were little were taken away by Stalin and sent to Siberia. He said, go back to America and tell the church, if you're not prepared to suffer for your faith, then your faith is worthless. Well, what did he mean by that? Through every generation of Christianity, even today in countries like Egypt, in the Muslim world, and in China, Christians are suffering for their faith. It is vital that we get this eyewitness testimony on camera so people in our country will not forget history, that they'll know history and they'll learn from history so that we can build the resistance now while we still have the freedom to do so. Eventually, this whole system of lies will fall apart, but it will take longer for it to fall apart if people are afraid to stand up for the truth. If people are afraid to have the courage to resist, to say, you do to me whatever you can, I will not live by lies.
Hi, my name's Isaiah Smallman, and I'm the director of the Live Not by Lies documentary series. I'll be honest, when I first started getting involved with this project, I was hesitant to sign on. I thought, what are people going to think of me when they see me attached to such a political project? And what if I take a stand on some of these big issues in public instead of just among my friends? What if I get canceled? What if this ends my career in Hollywood? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that's exactly why I should take this project on. Because right now, people are afraid to say what they think. They're afraid to stand up for the truth. And that's precisely why we need more people to do it and to pay the consequences of it. Now, I was inspired by the stories in this book. I was inspired by Rod for writing the book and the rest of the team who's pulled it together so far. And I'm excited to bring these stories to you, to amplify light in the darkness that's beginning to feel so oppressive to so many people. So I hope you'll join us and support this project so that we can go around the world and document these important stories before they're lost forever. And what if I get canceled? Whatever, it'll be worth it. I hope you'll join us, and I'll see you soon.